Truth in Plain Sight, bringing truth to light in unbiased, nonpartisan, factually founded reporting worldwide.
Hello world! This is Lamont Daigle here with Truth in Plain Sight Media with a well-awaited interview with Damian Spaulding from Damian Spaulding School of Music.
Yes.
Truth in Plain Sight Media. And we're going to talk a little bit about this thing called D-Sphere. He enjoys laughing a whole bunch when I say these things.
Oh my gosh, it's always a hoot sitting here with you. This guy's a fiend. I just love him. He's just so much fun to be with.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right, so Damian, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did we meet in the first place?
Oh my gosh, we met, what was it, a few years ago now. Time flies, eh?
Mm-hmm.
I got asked to bring, my record label got asked to bring some artists on with stage, and a very specific stage in Ottawa back in the time when things were really heated, very political, trucker rallies, crazy madnesses, protests, and people sitting at home waiting to get jabbed.
Right.
And through that whole process, I got asked to bring some talent. So I made some calls for some record labels with another lady that I know of, and which will remain nameless because there's so many people and we can get on all the names. I'm trying to avoid a whole bunch of names, but the picture goes now. We went to Ottawa and it ended up falling apart because police were everywhere, you know, just not letting people have fun.
They were hot and heavy at that time.
Oh my gosh, it was insane. It was insane. So we ended up just doing something completely different at a whole other compound, and I'm glad that we bumped into each other because you're a mover and shaker. You've been doing really great things, and I have a great respect for some of the awesome stuff that you've done, and glad to be here.
Well, you know, we were there with a lot of heavy things going on in Ottawa. I mean, we were, of course, accidental and occidental tourists with a lot of actions going on in Ottawa, and we were supposed to do a little bit of work together through that music contract. And, you know, like you said, things weren't happening because, once again, things were unplanned a little bit around the way the boys in blue were acting towards, social things going on with music and performances, and things just didn't work out the way they were meant to be. That is, however, how I started learning about this man that I met. And as soon as you started getting into the credentials and what you do with your School of Music, I was very happy at meeting you because I knew that great things would come in the future. Not only with the music and the education around what people really need, because music really helps bring community together. It's great for the kids and the adults to learn about what needs to happen around music and theater and all sorts of computer work, musicians, instruments, and all that kind of stuff. And you have great credentials around that. And as a matter of fact, could we get into a little bit of credentials and awards as to what makes Damian Spaulding School of Music a great organization?
It's not Damian Spaulding School of Music. I happen to be Damian Spaulding. It's known as the Spaulding School of Music, Spaulding School of the Arts, because I was just too lazy to call it something else. The new music infusion of just not me.
Right.
And so I just called it Spaulding. And then from there, it all started with one person wanted me to teach their kid how to play music, and then that kid at the end of 30 days was actually ready to play on stage. And people wonder, where'd you learn? How long have you been playing? Like 30 days? Who taught you this guy in the corner? And then one student became 2, became 10, became 50, became 100, and then became a very large success statement here in Central Ontario. I don't know. I don't like waving my own flag.
But you do have a certain way of teaching that was actually awarded. You actually got mentioned a couple of times for your specific way of teaching music.
Yeah. So I made a method of learning, whether it be music, whether it be drama, whether it be art, whether it be science, political science, or quantum physics. I don't know. You name it. I'm also write software. I teach software developers. And it's a way of learning that the learning model wraps around your head rather than you trying to wrap around an antiquated learning model. And because of that, then a lot of people, you can learn any instrument in 30 days. You can learn to be a software developer in a very short period of time. You can. We've actually started a kindergarten and grade 12 School of the Arts as well in the last little bit, and it's been very, very well received. The location was Sega Beach, and a location in Barrie, and lives are being changed on a daily basis as even kids that just didn't feel like they fit or were known to not fit in the traditional education system have found a home and are now finding new successes for not only their creativity but their analytical power. So,
and School of Music now, how long have you been doing this?
So the music school, a good almost 30 years now. You know, I started teaching when I was young. Then the music school became a music and drama school around 10, 15, 12 years ago. Then it was music drama, and then we moved across into production when we ran television shows and other things, and thus the Spaulding Canada, which is a production company behind all things. Because what happened is when we're training top talent in the world, and you're getting top exposure, the producers at Walt Disney and Universal and Sony and EMI, and producers worldwide were really paying attention to the talent that I was training.
Right.
So they wanted to know where these people were coming from. And so with that, Spaulding Canada was birthed as a production company and record label that created the ability for these students to kind of reach a new vertical, a new height, and it becomes limitless. So we can take someone that's in kindergarten, just starting from whatever, day one, clean up through now high school and post-production, get them here learning on media, get them touring the world on stage. And now Spaulding Canada has become this massive thing. We're building a theme park, multiple production studios and performance halls, and it just goes on and on and on. So we've reached a critical mass at this moment in time, and that stemmed from many years of winning the Consumer's Choice Award as the best school in the region, as other awards have won as the best school in the nation in Canada. And there's a lot of different things moving on in parallel, but it's not me, even though it carries my last name. It's a team. It's a very, very talented group of people that make it possible.
So it's safe to say you know what you're doing.
I've been around a little bit.
Right. Okay. So, this is one part of what makes this man who he is. And music, to me, is really a God-given talent. People need it, and everyone has that part of their life, whether it's the soundtrack to their lives or to learning skills in the world. Music keeps everything alive, and it's one of the basic things I think that the universe has given us that we can all agree that we love.
You see, what I find really interesting about music is that when you take a look at it, it appeals to our lowest common denominator. If you look at, get a little bit of theory here, but you look at the pentatonic scale. Da 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 da. Everybody was kung fu fighting. That's the pentatonic scale. If you listen, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. That's the pentatonic scale.
Right.
Both these scales go back hundreds of years, and there are continents apart, but we as human beings agree that is a very pleasing approach to tonalities, going back to trigonometries, perfect fifths and perfect fourths and all sorts of other stuff. But when it comes down to it, no matter where you are, what culture you are, where you are in history, where you are in time, it doesn't matter. We all can arrive upon music. I love that. I love that about music and art in general.
It's a good meeting place.
Yes, that's right. Music's what emotions sound like, and we can always just put our emotions to sound and agree upon that, no matter what our religious divides are, our political divides, economical the artists in general are the most lethal people you meet. Because you don't know. I'd be sitting down with you, and you wouldn't know that 5 hours from now I'm going to be sitting down with a multi-billionaire, and then 4 hours prior I was just playing with a 4-year-old on piano. There's no divide, and that's a beautiful thing about art in general.
And you used the word lethal in there, and I'm glad you went into that, because I want to segue into the stepping away from the feel-good stuff right now. Okay, I want to get into what the world needs right now, and I'm going to get right into it. Right now, Canada is in a place where we need certain things such as decentralized media, and we also need to start talking about truth in plain sight media. Okay, so can you elaborate a little bit into that, because you are also an internet, not internet, but coding and software genius. I'll say the word genius. Okay, I know you don't like me using that word about you, but you are that. So maybe you could explain a little bit of the need as to why this came in. It's been something that we've needed for quite a while.
Years ago, looking at where things were going and being cooked up, the centralization of things, the control of things, and how things were boiling down, I thought we're going to come to a day where the people need to leverage communication, and that was going to be restricted. Our freedom of speech, our freedom of movement, our freedom of expression, all those things that we just take for granted as a culture and a nation that have been honestly infringed upon. No matter where you think on the political, people like saying political, you're left, you're right, you're this, you're that. I'm just talking about, are you able to leave your town without getting a fine? Are you able to leave your house without being threatening to be arrested? Stuff like that.
And it's not just Canada that we're dealing with it. This is an international prowess that's happening right now.
So years ago, I began the journey of buying fiber optic links and setting up custom technology and software that allows us to move in a decentralized way, much like how, not that I'd advocate for this kind of thing, but the Pirate Bay and pirating, for example, torrenting and sharing of information. You can't, no matter what you legislate, no matter what you do, you cannot take down, as they say, if it goes on the internet, it's never coming down again. So be careful what selfies you put out. And with that, it's creating an ability for individuals to talk about. I hear stories of people who lost their children. Like, they got the jab, they got seizures, they died.
Right.
And they're trying to say to their family and friends, my son is dead. I need money to pay for his funeral. And then the major platforms say, sorry, we do not talk about vaccines here or vaccine deaths or destructions or anything, period. And I'm like, you're taking a family in their darkest, most hurtful moment, and you're telling them that they cannot survive well. You're cutting the feet out from under them.
Right.
Leaving the politics aside. That is not right.
Right.
And so to have a solution, a product, the ability to allow people to communicate without restricting themselves, to put a video up of whatever your opinion is, you should be able to speak it. And it should not be up to me to...
No shadow banning, no deplatform, any of that stuff that's going to be happening for the people.
Correct.
That these other organizations and social media platforms have been doing to us since that kind of tyranny and control has been put on the people.
Yeah.
With decentralized media, that's not going to happen to the people anymore.
Correct, yeah. So
right.
that's why it's called D-sphere, where
Right.
you're decentralizing your sphere of influence. So what happens now is you can have your own sphere of influence. You can have your own YouTube, you can have your own Facebook, you can have your own e-commerce website, you can have whatever you'd like. You can have your own blog, what have you, that is uniquely you as Lamont.
Right.
I can have a sphere as uniquely me with my own socials, my own media, my own mailing lists, and so on and so forth. And then I can communicate in a decentralized server in areas which are naturally protected. You cannot take it down because there are websites like the Pirate Bay that are not taken down, like WikiLeaks that are not taken down. There are ways to move data that keeps you protected. And then allow these two spheres of influence to interconnect with one another.
Right.
So we can then reach a critical mass. So Joe over in the corner can be on his cell phone and have his own private decentralized login. And from that, he can connect to my DTube, which is my D Media, which is my form of decentralized YouTube, and your D Media. Or Joe can also go into my D-commerce and then purchase merchandise or what have you, and it can't be stolen, coerced, destroyed, hijacked, bank accounts seized. You know, like just the ability to just be us, to be human, to support one another, to love one another. And
now,
sorry,
before you had, that's
this.
fine. No, and I understand that. And I need you to have this out because I am not in your mind. I'm not in your brain. I need to draw this out of you. This is what an interview has to do here because this guy thinks about this kind of stuff all the time. Now, I want you to give an example for now of D-Sphere not being in your hands in February of 2021 when Truth in Plain Sight was taken down. With 2.5 weeks being out there,
My gosh.
helping people with the information, 250,000 subscribers, 1 million hours of views being taken down.
Yeah.
And you were putting out there some really great research-driven, truth-based, solution-based internet content that the people wanted to know, and they took you down.
Yes.
Right?
There's a ravenous hunger for real truth, for real evidential data. You know, not just trust the they or trust the science. I now start spelling science with P-S-Y-E-N-C-E because it's a whole psychology to
It is. Sci-war now, that's the word.
And those of us that like digging and learning and I used to have, I became an influencer of sorts in that whole process because I used to have public debates in my social sphere. And I would publicly just put out, I would say a 7-year-old kid might know more about the gestation periods of frogs and tadpoles than I ever might.
Right.
And I'll take that knowledge. You'd listen to a 7-year-old, they're not a professional. It's like, if you can study, information is stored in books. If you can read a book. I was not born qualified to speak English. Somewhere I learned it. So really, sorry, I'm getting a little passionate again, but in the big picture of things, Truth in Plain Sight was built to take information that was being suppressed, that was
Right.
truth of being suppressed, and bring light upon it in plain sight. It's that simple. And it doesn't matter if it was, political, religious, economic, health. Health became politicized. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's truth, it should be able to be set free and known. It could set us free. And so overnight, because we were solving that ravenous hunger, millions of hours are being viewed with the doctors and the scientists that were interviewed with bringing true facts out, within the protests and the rallies. It's amazing. You just see what the news is. Let me tell you a story. I was down in Toronto. I was down in Toronto because I was asked to come to one of the rallies, and I've never been to a rally before in my life. I'm not a political guy.
We like to call them gatherings, by the way.
Yes,
gatherings.
but they call it a rally. And I'm like, okay, for once I'm going to see what this is all about. I get teary when I say this a little bit too, because I remember it was in the height of everything, when everyone's been locked in their homes for 8 months, and people are being arrested, and it was a mess. And you can't go skating out in the parks open without getting arrested. You cannot, whatever. You can't sneeze in public. You remember what it's like. For some reason, people try to forget this. And I go down to Toronto, and the snowbirds, they're saying, "Oh, Canada," and someone scrambled the snowbirds to tip their wing at we stand on guard for at the peak of the national anthem, like we were at an air show. It's not cheap to scramble those guys, and I'm sure the people that scrambled them got in some hot water. And it showed that the movement, the people we're with each other. I remember hearing a story of how I call them the they, because they all say trust that they would never do that, would they? So I say trust the they. Yeah, and the theys out there were standing on a three-legged stool. I remember how this was put, where you got the judiciary system, you got the military system, and you got the communication system. And the they has a judiciary, because that there's crazy fines and stuff, and even that did nothing stood up in court. And then you've got the media system, which you now know is controlled in so many ways. If you don't really have a big rock, you need to remove your head from under. So, but at the same time, what they did not expect is that social networking and real truth would still get out. That's why Truth in Plain Sight was birthed, to help that.
Right.
And had DSphere been there at that time, with that 2 million hours of view, it would have been 200 million in a period of 6 months. This is why DSphere is here. But anyway, we got the judiciary, we have the media, and then we had, what was the other one I said? The military. And that was a stopgap. You notice how things got crazy, but nothing ever crossed provincial lines? Mm-hmm. That's for a reason.
Right.
Even though they are saying, you got no rights, I'm going to suspend your rights because I'm the Prime Minister and your rights are no longer important and all those things. Yet they never really you never saw our military anywhere. You see people not speaking our language, wearing uniforms that are just generic, trying to suppress people. There's a reason why it's not our military. But we don't see that in the media. If you want to know where the truth is, you look where the camera's not pointing. And I'll tell you, that Snowbird Day, when I was there, I found it phenomenal, because we knew when something was going to go down. Why? Because the global media, whatever conglomerate you want to mention, shows up and they roll camera. And it's funny. They point the camera right at the stage, and right within 8 minutes, there's some guy at the front just yelling and screaming and trying to incite, and no one was buying it. Everyone just gave him a big wide grin. It's like, what's wrong with you, buddy? and they just pulled him away, and things moved on. And had you swiveled the camera 180 degrees to one side, you'd have seen a lineup of 15, 20 Chinese people wearing picket signs, saying that this is not what Canada is. You're becoming what we left in our country.
Absolutely.
I am a political refugee. I was born in Jamaica. And when it was during the Michael Manley and Eddie Seaga time, when Jamaica was fighting polar opposites between communism and democracy, or so-called democracy. We live in an oligarchy. But that big fight was going on, and Bob Marley was raising hands in the air saying, why are you got the two presidents, talking about music again, you got the two presidents elect coming up on stage, holding hands on stage, while people were shooting gunfire down the street on who's going to be winning the election. And he looked at the whole audience and he said, why are you shooting each other when your two leaders are up here holding hands?
Right.
That's what a musician can do. That's what music can do and art can do. And had that camera just swiveled 180 degrees to the right, you would have seen the truth in plain sight, but they don't put it there.
Right.
I remember having conversations with family members, and they're saying, Damian, I don't like all that discussion you're having on your wall. Why don't you just shut up and be quiet and just wear your mask or do whatever? And I never advocated for mask wearing or against it. I'm just like, let's talk about this.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that one family member said, you're now saying that Canada's becoming like what Jamaica was. We left. It's like, exactly. And you're the one that lived through it. We left the country because of it. And you want me to be quiet. Why? And you're the one that brought me out of it. Anyway, I'll stop now. I get passionate about this stuff. But
A lot of
but
Eastern Europeans, a lot of people that have been in communist countries, they're looking at this right now. Polish people, Russians, they've gone through this kind of stuff, and they're looking at us going right now, can't you see the creep coming?
Yes.
The creep of tyranny is coming in here, and now we're finding that when you're creating the kind of media that people want to see, there's really two camps out there. There's your consumers, there's the people that are out there consuming the media, and you're also looking at potential creators, because people want to see the media back in their own hands, and they want to see their stuff being put out there. Because now people are seeing that if the legacy media is not reporting on what's happening here, and they're not pointing the camera in the right direction, that the people are doing this now. And I think what's happening that I can see with you creating Truth in Plain Sight is that we're going to be making a call for action for the people to kind of have this aggregate website media come in, decentralized media where they can trust finally in what's happening,
Yes.
and actually train them and offer them ways for them to train on being video people, editors, people that are out there in the field becoming the news people that we can actually create careers with and have them working with us to help this movement towards the truth that we really need to see. I'm done. I'm 52 years old, and I've never seen such a fast movement in control and tyranny right now, and this is why I'm working with Tips Media, because this is the future. This is what needs to happen, you see?
It's been interesting the last 100 years. I mean, you look at stuff like The Creature from Jekyll Island by Edward Griffith, I think is the name, and he opens up the Federal Reserve System and how that whole, let's leave it alone.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
you
let's
know.
leaving that alone.
Mhm.
But you see how over the last 100 years, I'm not a political science major by any stretch of the imagination, but I understand the communistic way of going about things, where everyone has the same meat. Let me talk about communism. You know what my picture of communism is? Can I indulge myself
Please,
just 1 second?
show the people what you know.
Okay, so you take $100,000. Someone gives you $100,000, right?
Right.
I have $100,000, right? Okay, and then what happens? We leave, and I blow 50,000 of that up my nose on some weekend on a bender.
Sure.
Then I come back to you and I say, "Where's my 25,000?"
Right.
Well, no, we should be even, shouldn't we?
Sure.
Why couldn't you say, give me, where's my 25,000?
25,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you think that is unfair at its core,
That you didn't invite me on that weekend is where the
I know, but right. I just got myself way too far down that path. but in the big scheme of things, as we moved over the last 100 years, that move towards a communistic order was always very slow.
Right.
Let's change the education system.
Right.
Let's indoctrinate the next generations to slowly crawl upon things. Let's raise the taxes incrementally. Let's control more legislation. Let's embargo certain information, ban certain books. Let's control certain things as we go.
Unemployment.
Yes, that's right.
Raise the taxes.
And then come in as the savior of all things.
Yeah.
Say now you just need this minimum whatever is required, and then it's going to be globally adopted. And then for some reason, the last few years, boom! Instead of boiling that frog 1 degree at a time, they just shocked that water, and
Right.
we all felt it. And
Yep.
if you have not felt that, get your head out from under that rock, because it's right there in plain sight.
It was a gambler showing their cards too soon.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yes.
I've never seen anything like it. So, because I really do touch base and speak to a lot of really great people who believe this to be a spiritual war, is that the light, the divinity of the people are winning. The truth is coming up, whether they like it or not, and they're really rushing the agenda. As a matter of fact, there's a really great gentleman who is a former intelligence officer that we are actually working with that told me that, the original agenda was for them to have this complete tyranny and control by 2050. They moved it back to 2030. Then they moved it to 2025. And then they went, you know what? All holds barred. Here we go. We're into 2024. And here we are right now, launching this media for the people right now. And we're going to do our best to get it out to the people here.
Yes.
And this is what we're doing. We're finally coming out, meeting this man, meeting the reason that the Truth in Plain Sight has been created through D-Sphere to have a separate sphere of influence for the people to be able to come forward here. We're going to figure out how to monetize this platform for the people. We're going to be able to bring a donation-based platform for the people so they understand where this money is going for these groups, the people, and these platforms that are actually helping people.
Yes.
And we're going to be able to show people where all of this material is going.
Correct. And
Okay.
please, Truth in Plain Sight, it's not my baby. It is a group of people, a consortium that came together. And I wrote some technology that I've been writing for the last 20 years. And of course, I'm catalyzing things to create. It's not a political platform. It is not left. It is not right. It is not anti-totalitarianism. It is not pro-totalitarianism. It is not. It's just simply the ability to take some high-quality production capabilities and raise. In my mind, truth will set us free. If it's truthful, the cream always rises to the top. The best information, the best truthful, factual accounts will always be laid bare. And a lie can. You're going to spend your rest of your life defending lies and making up. Look at all the Fauci stuff. I never told anyone to shut anything down. Well, I told everyone to shut everything down. Like, it's
right.
Lies upon lies, layers upon layers. But when you're just truly in truth, you don't have to remember even what you said. And we feel that when you guys are sitting at home right now and you're feeling the words coming out, it's just truth.
Right.
And it's indisputable. If we could, anyway, I'll be quiet.
No, and I agree with you. And here's the whole point: is that the people that are out there watching this right now, okay, watching this today, they have to trust in someone with a heart that's going to bring the right information to the people. And what I'm saying here is that the media consumers, the people that don't have time to look through the plethora of new movies and new information around what kind of information has been a lie to us and what they're putting out there to, put us towards propaganda of what's happening in that machine, is that they want to be able to trust an organization that's going to be able to filter through the information that the people need. And we've got a really great number of people. Like I said, it's not just yourself doing all the work here. You've got how many people going through content creation? You've got what? Telegram going on, you've got people on Signal, you've got all these hundreds of people curating media that's now being shown, that's coming to our desk right now for us to start taking a look at, yes, and putting it in a way where the people can look at that quickly, and we just cut down the time for them to have to slog through that information and be able to do their own research. Yep. Okay? Now, like I said, do their own research. We're doing that for ourselves. We're bringing stuff out that's going to be good information for you. And ultimately, we want you to do your own research, but we're saving some time for the people.
And at the same time, you don't have to trust Truth in Plain Sight as a platform.
Of course.
We're aggregating, or they're aggregating. It's not me. I'm the production guy. I just get the productions done, right? And the team does what they do. And it's not my team. It is Spaulding Canada is sponsoring and doing the best we can as one of the world's top educators and so on and so forth, to support things like Truth in Plain Sight, absolutely. And then at the same time, yes, leaving the platform alone, leaving the curation alone, again, you know truth when you see it.
Of course.
You are your own proof staker. You are the reason why I became an influencer through the whole madness of the last few years is because I just kept releasing truth. And people kept trying to fight against truth, and then I kept defending truth with truth, and then they got angry, and I'm like, I'm just having fun here. Because truth is just there. So aside from, you can emotionally trust whatever you want to emotionally trust, but if you really, truly let your heart be challenged to open up what that cognitive dissonance might be, and that's a sign of intelligence.
Right.
Being able to hold two contrasting things in your brain at one time and battle them out. And the longer you can hold that is a greater sign of intelligence you have.
If that's one thing I can say about this relationship right here, folks, is I can take a look at this man's mind, I can look at his credentials, I can look at the reputation he has in all the fields that I know him to be a genius in. However, I enjoy the fact that we have a sense of intuition around good stuff, yes, good people, the right information, and the stuff that feels good. If anyone in the last 4 years can't differentiate what it is that's a lie and what is truth out there after 4 years, ladies and gentlemen, get into feeling what that intuition is for you. And if you like working with good people, you'll know that you can actually trust the fact that, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be right around certain things. And I think you and I can both come together that way because you've got your own side of the media, and we've been able to help people look at that for quite some time now.
The number of people that have came to me after speaking in different things and just getting feedback, right, and they said when they had the red pill, if you want to put it that way, or the scales taken off their eyes, it was horrifying. It was uncomfortable. They hated it. They got depressed. They all went through 3 months of just depression when they realized that they can't be trusted. They don't care if you can feed yourself or your retirement fund is disappearing or what have you. That altruistic they that we trust in. It's like that grandma or daddy figure that was always our guide, and then we realized that they're a serial killer. It hurts.
It does, really.
And there's so many of us. I mean, how many people stay in noxious relationships? Just knowing it's like, well, he's only ever drunk on Fridays. He's only been to the hospital 3 times. Like, because it's more comfortable to stay in that abuse cycle than it's to face the fact of, you know what, the truth is, this is hurting me. The truth is, I cannot keep sitting here. And it's going to be painful to leave this abusive relationship, but I'm going to be whole for it because I won't be bruised every Friday or whatever it is.
I have never used the word right so many times in my life because everything this man is saying is absolutely in agreement with me. I love you saying this kind of stuff because it literally, it's just coming out of my mind, it's coming out of your mouth. We're on the same path. We definitely are. And we're going to have some more information for you very soon. We really wanted to have this interview so that the people understand who I've been talking to for the last 2 years around this kind of stuff. We're going to be.
I know you're telling people what are you doing?
Well, you know, it's like you know when you're kind of dating someone, you kind of want to let these people know who you know. You want to let them know what kind of car you drive. You know, you want to tease a little bit around the nice house you live in and how you cook. You know, it's dating with people. People want to know. They want to have a relationship with you. Sometimes it's sexual. Sometimes it's not, okay? Most often, with the people that we're meeting out there, it's a good relationship that we're building here because the world needs good relationships, okay? We need people we can trust ultimately.
Yes.
And sometimes I name drop. What can I say? But only recently because honestly, I wanted to keep our relationship quiet until we were ready to rock and roll, okay? For example, we've spoken to some really great people around some of the things that we've done. We did a little interview, we did a little clip, a couple of weeks ago, and I showed a couple of my people, and they said, we love what you're doing. I want you to do more of that because you're both shining. The material and the platform is amazing. The people need this. Come down here, get in your car, drive across the country, and come and pick up an investment. We put 31 grand towards this. So the information and the material, the equipment that we're using right now is part of that. And we want to show the people. The initial seed funding is there. We're out there now with this beautiful media. We want people to know what this information is all about. And
what's important to me, too, is that we're creating, as one of the industry's top trainers, you know. I love training. We need to grow camera ops. We need to grow. I'm building 10 movies in the relatively near future. We're building an entire media outside of Truth in Plain Sight. This is now a Spaulding Canada thing. Right. And we're training and individuals in every area.
Can this be just in Toronto, or can this be anywhere?
This could be it could be anywhere in Canada and the world, quite frankly, because from the Truth in Plain Sight point of view, we had reporters all the way from Egypt and Africa and Australia ready to join the team before it got deplatformed and before DSphere was born. And DSphere is going to allow that to now continue, so we can bring Truth in Plain Sight across the world.
Amazing.
From a training perspective, we can train anyone in the world, but from a direct production perspective, the studio we have many studios, or a small number of studios, but we're training people in Barrie, Ontario right now on how to do everything and get from crazy cameras, crazy lights, crazy everything, crazy mics, and post-production, everything. So if you'd like to learn how that's done at a high level, I'd also want to hear from you because I love training you. I love to make careers and opportunities where we can. And even from a sales perspective, even from a business acumen, because we need to continue to grow, continue to bring further investment capital, not just for Truth in Plain Sight, but Spaulding Canada, all the cool moving parts that there are. And it's great to see that there is excitement, not just brewing, but in motion. Living life as a verb and not a noun.
People are really excited with this. People are getting really excited. We need you guys to start moving towards what it is that you want to see in the world, right? If you're a follower, you're a supporter, or you're a leader, any one of you that wants to know the truth out there and are prepared to create this kind of information with us, reach out to us. We'll make sure we offer you the ability to do that with us, and just reach out to us. We'll have lots of ways of doing it, and I can't wait to work with you and the great students in the future.
All right.
Right?
Yeah, man.
Thank you, brother.
Good, thank you.
My pleasure. Truth in Plain Sight, and Lamont Daigle out.
Follow Truth in Plain Sight